as some very gusty winds associated with this line of storms too. That is also happening, but right at the current moment, it does include Freeport, but the rotation at the current moment is actually still over the water. It's right there in the tip of that couplet. Keep in mind that these tornadoes can happen between radar scans as well. The radar scans about every 5 minutes, so we can have these tornadoes happen very quickly and then lift back up before we're even able to actually see them on the radar scan. So if you get a tornado warning like this, you want to be able to act immediately, and so that means the areas on the west side and southwest side of Walton County, back toward Freeport, back toward the Santa Rosa Beach area, Topsail State Park as well. Make sure that you are in shelter at the moment. Looks like that rotation's starting to fade just a touch as well, but again, it's not going to take a whole lot for any kind of tight rotation to develop a tornado to work down to the surface, as we do have just so much wind shear out there and available at the moment. On top of that, we're talking about some very heavy rain out of this system too, so you can see the purples there. Typically, I would say that signifies some hail, probably some smaller hail associated with that, but you can see what's going on. Get these little bit of embedded rotations working through, and they can quickly work down to the surface with the environment that we do have in place. So zooming out here, we have a big severe thunderstorm warning that includes Walton County, Washington County, Holmes County, Jackson County, parts of Calhoun, and all of Bay County, and it is for this line of thunderstorms as it progresses off to the east. This is producing immense rainfall rates as well as occasional embedded rotations that are ongoing in this system as well. So have to be aware of that and be prepared. So if you're in Bay County, you know we haven't gotten the worst of it yet, but we are expecting this line of thunderstorms to continue to slide off to the east, and we've got a whole lot of rain headed our way. So the flash flood threat is also going to be ever present as we go through the evening hours into the overnight hours, especially if we continue to see thunderstorms develop and work over the same areas, as we are still expecting thunderstorms to continue into the overnight hours. The good news out of this MCS working across the area now is that this may help to limit the instability and may not allow the atmosphere to recover for thunderstorms overnight tonight. So this might be our severe threat in total, and hopefully that is what happens, is that we kill this and we're just dealing with wind and rain overnight tonight. But zooming back in here, getting the latest scan, going back to that couplet that's down, not seeing a whole lot of tight rotation. You can see the winds that are coming in here and wrapping into that line. Not seeing a ton of tight rotation, but there is still that couplet there. It's really broad. That's going to be moving toward the Santa Rosa Beach area, again moving right there over the 4 Mile Village area. Not quite sure just what happened here, but we'll zoom out. We'll zoom out, we'll pull back off to the north and zoom back in here and see if we can't get that back concentrated across that area. So right here between Grosh and 4 Mile Village, that's where we still do have that couplet. But again, it's on the broader side, but this could be mixing winds down to the surface 50, 60 miles per hour as well. And there is enough rotation there for them to warrant the possibility of a tornado developing or tornado forming. And again, just not going to take a whole lot out of today's environment to be able to produce one. But you can see where that general shear is still showing up. And again, 4 Mile Village back over now toward the Santa Rosa Beach area on the Choctawhatchee Bay. Eventually, this may try to tighten back up across the Choctawhatchee. So Bayview, Fluffy Landing, and then the southern portions of Freeport there, that's also need to be in your shelter, as this could continue to move in that direction. You are under that tornado warning at the current moment, thanks to that same kind of storm that's working in that direction. So right now, just seeing that broad rotation with that little bit of couplet that is there, the shear rate showing that as well. So right through that location, that is where the tornado, if there is one on the ground, that is where it is currently moving. But elsewhere, we're talking about very heavy rain as well as strong wind gusts mixing to the surface all across the area. So if you're in this warning, where's the safe place? The safe place is the lowest level of your home, most interior room. Typically, that's a closet or a bathroom. And the reason we say bathroom is because the plumbing in the walls actually does help to enhance the structure of the walls themselves. And typically the interior closet or that bathroom is usually the last thing standing if a tornado does happen to go across that area or across your home. So that's why we say that's the safest place to be. And if you have a basement or you have a tornado shelter or something like that, certainly that is a safer location to go to. If you're in a mobile home, and I'm talking to everyone here, if you're in a mobile home across our area. That is never a safe place to be in a tornado. If a tornado warning is issued and you're in a mobile home, they disintegrate in even weak tornadoes. So even EF0s will destroy a mobile home. It is not a safe place to be during the possibility of tornadoes or during a tornado event itself. And you're under a tornado watch now, so we're telling you the possibility of a tornado is there. There is a tornado warning for southwestern portions of Walton County, including Freeport. It is for that area of rotation there. Again, we are talking about relatively broad rotation at this point in time. That warning does go until 4:45 Central Daylight Time. That is for this warning here, and that is that little couplet that is right there, right over the Grosh area. Now, this is probably right over the tip of the Santa Rosa Beach community that's on the Choctawhatchee Bay there at this moment in time, because again, radar is a little bit of a lag, so we're looking a little bit in time, back in time when we're looking at these radar scans. They're just taking snapshots, so they're not exactly live, so to speak, but it's pretty close. It's a pretty close look. So looking elsewhere out there, you can see the rolling rotational shear as well as some stronger rotation offshore, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. And then we have some rolling rotation, being horizontal rotation that's happening on the front side of that line of thunderstorms work through the Defuniak Springs. Most of what we're seeing here is wind gusts that's coming out, as well as some very heavy rain too. So if you put on the storm reports here, most of what we're getting reports of is wind gusts, non-thunderstorm related, but we do have a couple of thunderstorm related wind gusts as well. I think did this one just pop up, Jared, or is this a new one? 42 at Blue Mountain Beach. So that might be a new one, but getting a 42 showing up there inside that tornado warning. So that might be a new report out of that wind reports that are coming in, but most of it is non-thunderstorm related wind reports, and certainly do have that ongoing as well. We're getting 40, 50 mile per hour wind gusts even outside of the thunderstorms, highlighting the wind possibility with these storms as well. So going back to our reflectivity here, I'm going to put this in motion so you can see what's ongoing, but most of what's happening here is just a lot of rain, and we do have this little bit of a kink in the line here, and that's where we're getting that rotation. So keeping a close eye on that. Even a little further downstream on the same thunderstorm here that's offshore, we could be getting some rotation trying to develop on that as well. So might see a new warning come out a little further off to the south and east with that moving ashore as well. But thankfully, not seeing anything tight on that, signifying that, yeah, there's a tornado on the ground, but certainly a thunderstorm that is capable of producing one pretty quickly at this point in time as it does continue to move off to the north and east. I'm not quite sure on the forward movement of that. Jared, if you'll go look that up for me, what the forward movement of this thunderstorm is in that warning. I know it goes until 4:45, but it's got to be moving off to the north and east. I'm guessing maybe 20, 30 miles an hour or so as it does continue in that direction. You're not grabbing Lynx 1, are you? Yeah, no, don't grab Lynx 1. Do that on a different one. I'm on Lynx 1. So we got that thunderstorm continuing right through there. So that's the heavier rain that is moving onshore as well as that wind gust. But you can see that little curling that's happening there with that inflow right on the thunderstorm itself. That's where we could be seeing some new rotation trying to develop there. The old rotation kind of giving up here. Not seeing a whole lot that's telling me that is tightening. It looks like, if anything, that is becoming more broad and weakening. So we may actually see this warning be canceled here relatively soon. Could be very, very soon, as that does appear that it has started to drop off and not seeing a whole lot of rotation along with that. So just some broad rotation that's moving between Grosh and the Santa Rosa Beach community on the Choctawhatchee Bay. Does, again, tornado warning includes Freeport, Bayview, Fluffy Landing, Bunker, Choctaw, Blue Beach, as well as Grosh and the Santa Rosa Beach community. This is continuing until 4:45 Central Time, but overall, not seeing anything here that is telling me, yeah, there's definitely a tornado on the ground.
Northeast, 15 miles an hour.
50? 15. Okay, so the storm's only moving to the north and east at 15 miles per hour. So a slow-moving storm, and again, that takes me back to what is probably going to be the main issue with all of these thunderstorms is the heavy rain. We're talking about some very, very heavy rain, getting these little embedded rotations to show up here or there in that line, but most of this is just going to be a lot of wind and a lot of rain, as that is certainly what we're seeing here overall with that, even though we do have that tornado warning that is ongoing, as as well as the severe thunderstorm warning that goes until 5:15, and that does include Jackson County, portions of Calhoun County, all of Bay County, all of Washington County, all of Holmes County. It is for that line of thunderstorms that's occasionally producing wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour as it does continue to slide off to the east and northeast, only about 15 miles an hour. So lots of rain. You can also see the flash flood warnings as well as the river warnings that are ongoing back off to our west. And if I zoom out here even further, you can see all of those warnings as well. So at the end of the day here, and really as we wrap up this event tomorrow morning, we're probably going to be talking more about the rain and the wind than we will about anything else. And hopefully that stays the case as far as the tornado warnings go as well. Hopefully we're not talking about a whole lot of issues with tornadoes, and certainly a thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado at the moment in southern Walton County, but not seeing anything tight here that would say, yeah, this is definitely a tornado on the ground or a tornado is happening, but definitely a thunderstorm that could produce a tornado. Again, seeing broad rotation there just offshore as well as just onshore, so it's possible we may have had a waterspout trying to develop, or maybe one was spotted and then tried to move ashore, but overall not seeing anything here that says, yeah, there's absolutely a tornado ongoing, but definitely thunderstorms capable of producing a tornado, and that does extend well offshore as well. So if you're watching in western Bay County, or you're watching from PCB, or even out across Tyndall, I definitely want to keep an eye on these thunderstorms that are offshore, that are moving off to the north and east, because you can see little spots of red showing up like that, and that is signifying rotation ongoing as well in those areas. So these could be waterspouts offshore, which is why we do have that marine warning as well. So continuing with those thunderstorms, moving off to the east northeast, and again impacting much of the area with a severe thunderstorm warning. We'll put this back into motion here for you, but we're talking about a whole lot of heavy rain that does continue to slide off to the north and east here relatively slowly as well. And even looking further down the line from that, you can see this boundary kind of sinking off to the south, but orienting east-west, and that's never a good sign whenever we're talking about the flow coming out of the south and west, because it's running over that boundary and just helping to pump moisture in. So we're going to be talking about some heavy rain this evening as that line continues to slide off to the east. You got any updates over there, Jared, as far as the warnings, as far as the warning goes, or any other information? Are they talking about canceling this at any point in time?
Yeah, I'm not talking about canceling it, no, but there is another area of interest at Santa Rosa Beach, also at Blue Mountain Beach as well.
Yeah, okay, so they're talking about that same other little rotation that's offshore there, also highlighting that. So this was the initial area of rotation. You can see it pop up right there just offshore and then kind of fade as it worked onshore, but could have produced a brief waterspout or a quick tornado moving into Walton County. And then we've got another area of rotation that's showing up just right here to the south of Blue Gulf Beach or Blue Mountain Beach that's just outside that warning. So a little bit of broad rotation showing up there as well. I'll circle it for you so you can see what I'm talking about. So this area right here, highlighting that, we've got winds coming in and then we've got winds slightly going away from the radar. So that signifies maybe some broad rotation right through here. That could tighten up as it tries to move in that direction as well. So we'll keep a close eye on that. But the rotation that was there, which is now located still right here, just not seeing a whole lot to it. It looks pretty broad to me, not tightening up, and certainly on the weaker trend than versus a stronger trend. But there are a couple of different areas of rotation right from that location that's still there, that's broad, as well as this rotation that's right there, also on the broader side. But again, it's just not going to take a whole lot today with all of the wind that we have at the surface and how low level our clouds are. It's just not going to take a whole lot to get a tornado to form, which is why we are echoing the message that you can have a quick or brief tornado develop and could even be strong or violent because of all the ingredients that we do have available at the surface. But a lot of heavy rain really ongoing here, and that's going to continue as we do go forward. So I'm trying to actually think if I do have maybe 24-hour rainfall rates. Yeah, look at that. So I do have 24-hour rainfall on here. So yeah, even in a very short period of time, Defuniak Springs, we're talking about over 2 inches of rain. Same thing out of this thunderstorm as it does progress in. So 2 to 4 inches of rain seems likely as we go through this evening into the overnight hours. We may see some locations picking up much, much more than that in a very short period of time, which is why the flooding threat is also a big concern overall with that rainfall that is going to be coming on through. But looking at the reflectivity here, or the reflectivity, if I can say it right, a heavier rain stretched through Walton County, back up into Holmes County, even extending into Jackson County. Not a whole lot of severe ongoing with that heavier rain up there, but certainly the possibility of wind gusts mixing down to the surface. And then this is starting to tighten up a little bit, so that's certainly on the interesting side there. They may just continue this morning because that's starting to tighten up, or at least it looks like it anyways. It's still broad too, so they're both very, very broad as far as rotations go. I'm not seeing anything that's imminent, but definitely some stronger winds just offshore here. If we pixel query that, this is going to be probably pretty impressive. Yeah, 60, 70 mile per hour winds. Keep in mind, this is elevated. This isn't actually at the surface, but with the heavier rain, you can start to mix some of these wind gusts down to the surface. So that's the reason for the severe thunderstorm warning that stretches across multiple counties, is because you do have this elevated wind. It's not too far above the surface, and with these heavier rain bands, you can definitely push that all the way down to the surface. So right there on that edge, it would certainly be aware on the southeastern side of Walton County and the western side of Bay County, right along the beaches there, that you got some really strong wind gusts that are moving onshore as well. The possibility of maybe some small hail showing up there too, with those little streaks of purple there. And we'll go over to the CC here and see if I can see anything. Yeah, not seeing anything out of that broad rotation back there. No CC dropouts, and definitely seeing a little bit of a hail scattering going on there back across where that purple is. Going to the shear rate here, again, everything is really broad. Not seeing a whole lot tightening up either, but certainly some impressive wind gusts out there at the current moment. Little tight, little broad couplet that's back there as well. So nothing here that's overall screaming, yeah, a tornado is ongoing, but certainly a thunderstorm that is capable of doing so. We do have rotation that is there. It's just on the broader side, and definitely a severe thunderstorm as we're getting these wind gusts to mix down to the surface. Even outside of these thunderstorms, we're seeing reports of 40, 50 mile per hour winds, and certainly lots of heavy rain as well. So again, tornado warning does go for another 15 minutes here for southwestern Walton County. I would think that they would cancel this relatively soon, as rotation is all but gone at this point in time. But it is definitely a dangerous thunderstorm with that kind of kink. You can see that rotation that is there, and we're getting kind of a bow echo to develop here. So that might be why we're seeing some enhanced winds, as we're getting that bowing shape. So as you get this little S curve in this, you can either get rotation at the north side of that S curve, or you can get rotation in the middle or on the south side. But meanwhile, you definitely have some backing ongoing and helping to mix those winds down to the surface. So maybe seeing a localized area of stronger winds pressing on shore. Seagrove Beach, this eventually is going to be working toward Inlet Beach as it now updates here. So the Choctaw area, Seagrove Beach, probably seeing some really strong wind gusts mixing down to the surface. Is going to move toward Inlet Beach and eventually the west end of PCB. So that'd be Laguna, Seaside as well, or not Seaside, Sunnyside, as well as Hollywood Beach. That eventually is going to be working in that direction as well. Maybe some small hail and wind gusts, maybe 40, 50, maybe possibly even up to 60 miles per hour with this severe thunderstorm that is moving in that direction. But again, if you're just tuning in, tornado warning for southwestern Walton County at the moment. Not seeing any rotation right now signifying a tornado is on the ground, but certainly a thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado is moving through that area. We've got a couple different areas of broad rotation that are ongoing. And just to be safe, again, because it's just not going to take too much for rotation to tighten up. But if you're in that warning and you're back up toward Freeport, Fluffy Landing, Bunker, certainly even over toward Inlet Beach, I would be aware that you could get some quick rotation to develop very quickly. So not a bad idea to just hang out until those thunderstorms roll on through. And you look at this line extending further down, seeing tighter rotation offshore than onshore, and definitely appears that most everything is relatively elevated, so not at the surface, but actually above the surface as you do work inland. And most of what we're talking about here is just heavy rain, not even noticing that much in the way of lightning ongoing. We're getting a couple of lightning strikes there where we do have that little notch. It actually looks like two little bow echo segments there, so we might be talking about a couple of different areas of enhanced wind coming down to the surface if that is working at the surface and is not elevated itself. But putting this back into motion, you can see exactly what we're talking about. The leftover over MCS, which is a mesoscale convective system, that's actually this whole blob of rain here, but its frontal boundary or its surface boundary is this sharp line where we're getting this delineation between thunderstorms that are surface rooted and thunderstorms that are elevated, and that is creating this shear and helping to keep these little kinks in these lines as well that help to move off to the east and northeast. And anytime we get these segments to kind of orient north-south, that's where we start to introduce these rotations in. And this little segment of the line, you can see, oriented itself north and south right as it was approaching shore. So that helped it to pull in some of that inflow and help it rotate. But now it's starting to become more of a bowing segment and not getting so much north-south. You got to go offshore before you start to see more of a north-south segment, or you got to go further off to the north where there's that north-south segment right there as well. So that might need to be investigated. Well, actually, let's zoom in on that now just to see if there's any kind of rotation going on there. And yeah, there's some broad rotation on that north-south segment here too. So you can actually see where that thunderstorm is lining up like that. You start to get these winds toward the radar and winds away from the radar. So that is frictional shear with winds are going in opposite directions. So it doesn't take much for the wind to start to orientate that thunderstorm and start to pull up that rotating updraft, and that's where we'll start to get those tornadoes to develop out of these line segments. But going back down to our tornado warning, again, nothing in here is saying a tornado is ongoing or a tornado is happening at the current moment. Certainly a very strong thunderstorm moving through South Walton County at this point in time, and it's going to be moving into Bay County, but I'm not seeing any kind of tight rotation, really not seeing all that much in the way of broad rotation at this point in time. The stronger and more impressive winds are actually outside of the warning at this point. So not a whole lot there, but again, really doesn't take much today as the possibility of tornadoes to be quick or brief is there, and with all of the ingredients we have at the surface, any tornadoes that do develop can be strong or violent. That means EF2 or greater. They may just not be on the ground for very long, and if there was a tornado associated with this, it's probably a waterspout moved to shore, not seeing much with it at the current moment. There is some broad rotation that's showing up right over the Santa Rosa Beach area at the moment. That's what's showing up right here. So we've got winds away from the radar, winds toward the radar there, and that's showing that kind of circular motion ongoing through there. But you'd really want to see kind of a couplet where you get a peak in the colors on both sides of that rotation, and that's not all that happening at the moment. We'll go over to our shear rate here. It's tightened up a little bit, so back there across the Chat-Hawley Road, that's where we're seeing the strongest rotation at the moment. And again, this is going to be moving toward State Highway, the big bridge that goes across the Choctawhatchee Bay. I always forget the name of that road or the number of that road, but the bridge that goes across there, I think it's 393 or something like that, but I always forget it. So sorry that I keep forgetting that. But Chat-Hawley Road back over toward Choctaw Bay Estates, those areas still under that tornado warning. That's where we do see that strongest rotation ongoing right there, where we got that kind of broad signature on at least base velocities. Then that kind of makes sense because we got this little wrap around here, but that's, again, it's broad. It's broad and it's relatively weak, so I would think that that's not producing either. But that is the strongest rotation that we do have out there at the moment. And again, there's a lot of wind at the surface, so any kind of rotation that gets picked up is not going to take much to be able to produce a funnel and get that down to the ground. I'm going to pull back up our wind reports here. I think this is the Blue Mountain Beach one, isn't it? Yeah, that's the Blue Mountain Beach one. So not getting any other new wind reports out of this line of thunderstorms at this point, but definitely a strong line of thunderstorms now moving into Bay County, progressing through Walton County into Holmes County as well. So back through the Ponce de Leon, 5 Points area, and then going up into Holmes County and continuing to slide off to the east. A little strong segment right there in that Westville, Ponce de Leon area between Caryville and Defuniak Springs. So right there along I-10, a little significant strong storm right there where it's a little more oriented off to the north and south. That'll help it rotate as well. And then you can see this line segment that's here with a couple of little bowing segments showing up as well. So those all can help to enhance the wind field, at least locally at the surface. But again, seeing broad rotation, not a whole lot there that would tell me that, yeah, we've got a tornado that is currently ongoing. Looks relatively unlikely at this point in time that there is a tornado there. Any updates on the warning there, Jared? You got any other new information for me out of this?
Likely circulation continues to persist. Remainder over Santa Rosa
So they're still talking about that rotation over Santa Rosa Beach. I doubt that's producing. But yeah, there's rotation there, but I very much doubt that is really anything at all. It's possible, but that looks really broad, and it's certainly not tightening up, and that is definitely kind of a lingering effect on the backside of that. But yeah, there's rotation through here. It's possible. You could have a tornado trying to develop there on the backside of that thunderstorm, but it is still relatively broad at this point. Moving off to the east-northeast at about 15 miles an hour. So again, Bunker, Choctaw, Fluffy Landing certainly would remain in shelter until this thunderstorm does move on through. I'm not seeing anything that is all that concerning to me, but certainly there is at least the possibility here that this could tighten up very quickly, and you could get a thunderstorm to get produced, or a tornado to get produced out of that. The strongest rotation is actually right there over Chat Holly Road on the east side of the Santa Rosa Beach community. There over these homes that are on the Choctawhatchee that are moving toward that bridge. So going back towards Smith Road and then North Eden Park Drive, that's where the strongest rotation is at the current moment. This will be headed over the bridge here soon that crosses the Choctawhatchee Bay there toward Freeport. And then eventually this may work out back over the waters that work into the Choctawhatchee Bay off of the east side, so the Bunker, Choctaw Estates area, and then the southeastern portions of Freeport. So going back over the Bayview area, the Freeport's up here, so Black Creek Road, that area as well, and then going down here, Old Bayview. I'm trying to zoom in to get off that. So that's Old Ferry Road, and then I can't quite tell what road that is. McDaniel's Fish Camp Road. So McDaniel's Fish Camp Road, also Old Bayview area, and Black Creek Road. I would be in my shelter just in case this does tighten up and produces. But this does definitely look like it's relatively broad on the backside. So it's that couplet that's right there that at least our shear rate is saying is rotating. But when you look at it on the reflectivity side, you would want to see kind of a hook or maybe kind of a ball showing up there, and definitely not seeing that kind of signature. So if this is rotating, I think this is probably elevated rotation. It seems unlikely that is surface-based rotation. You can kind of see by this look as well. It's scattered about. We're now getting like several couplets shown up in there. So I'm not quite understanding that one, but there is rotation there, and this is a strong thunderstorm. So the rotation stayed in the exact same place. I'm just thinking that this is kind of artifacty and not really a whole lot going on. But yeah, I think this is all elevated. But we're definitely getting some pull here, and we're getting some rotation. So it's possible we might have a very small funnel cloud or maybe small tornado that's over that area. Nothing, at least on the radar from my point of view, that is screaming, yeah, there's a tornado on the ground, but certainly the possibility is there that we could be seeing one develop, or one has developed. Maybe one came down and lifted back up and maybe lingering over the same locations. But these storms not moving very quickly, only to the east-northeast at about 15 miles an hour. So this warning started around the 4-mile village area and is now just about 30 minutes later, not even out of the Santa Rosa Beach area. So at the current moment, not a whole lot of movement off to the east or northeast. And we're starting to see some rotation further off to the south here, Seagrove as well as offshore. So you can see that rotation showing up there. So this is the line segment of that thunderstorm activity. We'll have to keep an eye on that so you can actually see the kink there. So this is what I'm talking about. So there's some bowing going on there. That's the winds pushing out or getting a little bit of backing. And that's where we could see enhanced wind gusts come down to the surface. And then note how you're getting this little curl, and you almost see that little ball effect there. That to me screams much more of a possibility of a tornado than what you have here, which is where you're getting this kind of elongated look like this. So it's possible that you have something there that's weak, but certainly looks less imminent or less threatening than our typical structure. So not seeing a whole lot to that, but it is certainly possible that you could have some rotation there. And there's definitely rotation being reported on the radar anyways, right there over the Chat Holly Road area, back over toward between Fluffy Landing and Choctaw Bay Estates and the Santa Rosa Beach on the Choctawhatchee Bay. So that's where we do have this broad rotation ongoing, but doesn't scream at least is not the classic signature that you would expect if there was a tornado happening or a tornado occurring on the ground. But there is some rotation there with a strong thunderstorm, so keeping a close eye on that as that does continue. So zooming out here a little further, because again, we do still have a very large severe thunderstorm warning. A lot of what this was warned for, at least on the northern half, has kind of turned more into a lot of rain and less of wind and less severe, but certainly on the southern half, still dealing with what appears to be some relatively organized thunderstorms, especially the south of that tornado warning and pressing offshore. So hopefully the majority of this severe weather does actually end up offshore, and most of what we see on land is actually just wind and rain. That would be great if that did become the case. But seeing the strongest thunderstorms right there in that north-south orientation of that line of thunderstorms. And then again, back over toward the Bonifay area right through here, that's where we're seeing some stronger thunderstorms too. But not a whole lot of wind reports up there. And most of the wind reports we've had have been outside of the thunderstorm activity themselves. So lots of rain ongoing. And now we have a flash flood warning. So our first flash flood warning of the day, that is for Walton County, Holmes County, Jackson County, and Washington County. That goes until 10:30 tonight. So a lot of rain still to come. Over 2 inches of rain has fallen in that area already. We're probably going to be talking about another 1 to 3 inches of rain in that area. So we may see flooding ongoing, or flooding occurring will continue, as we do expect that rain to continue for several more hours to come. And it's possible we could be talking about these thunderstorms continuing into the night. So that's the good thing about these thunderstorms arriving early and starting to press on through, is we killed some of the instability and some of the ingredients in the atmosphere. So we may actually see our severe threat lessen as we get into the overnight hours versus what we were expecting. But unfortunately, that does mean the flash flood threat is still ever present and may actually even be slightly worse thanks to this boundary just kind of hanging out. So I'll have to see how things evolve, but definitely a dynamic situation. Whenever you're dependent on the evolution of thunderstorms, it makes timing extremely difficult. It makes tracking extremely difficult. In general, it makes all of that very, very difficult, getting all of those updates or even just seeing it. The models have just completely missed on the overall structure of this, or what's going on here. But that flash flood warning going again until 10:30, and that does include Walton, Washington, Holmes, and Jackson County. If you're in those areas prone to flooding, you need to seek higher ground now. Don't wait until flooding is occurring. If you are driving across a road or driving up on a road that is flooded, always remember, turn around, don't drown. It is the easiest statement to be said, but you have to understand, if you're looking at a road that is underwater, you can't actually see the surface of the road. You don't know the condition of that road. The road could be completely washed out, and you might be driving into a ditch, not even know it. It only takes about a foot of moving water to move a vehicle. It'll actually lift a vehicle and move it. 1 foot of swiftly moving water will move a vehicle. So if you're driving up on a flooded road, you certainly want to make sure to remember, turn around, don't drown. You can always save your life by not crossing that flooded waterway. And the tornado warning has now expired, so we are going to jump out of coverage, but certainly watching this right here very, very closely, as there are a couple little notches there that are going to be moving ashore here relatively shortly. But back here where that lingering rotation is, just not seeing a whole lot. And this does look elevated as well, but seeing some strong wind gusts out of this right on the edge here. So if we pixel query these, you can see 70, close to 80 mile per hour winds, but that is, again, that's elevated. That's not what's at the surface. That is what's above our heads, but these heavier rains can mix those down to the surface and cause those wind gusts. So we're going to jump off air. We'll be back on air in about 15 minutes anyways for the 5 o'clock newscast, so you can catch the latest forecast on that. If there is a tornado warning between now and then, we'll jump right back on air. You can always get the latest updates on mypanhandle.com. If you don't have the Storm Track 13 app, download it now. It is free. You'll get these push alerts and notifications straight to your phone. You can even watch us live from that app as well. But again, check us out. We'll be back with the latest forecast and information at 5, unless we have a tornado warning between now and then.